on April 21st. It's LEEP Academy's first all Zoom board meeting. It is, I believe, 6:09 p.m. We have a quorum. We have more than a quorum. So I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is, as usual, the approval of our board minutes. I'm going to assume that everybody has all of the documents, the pre-reads that I sent out last week and that we sent out yesterday. See heads nodding, that's great. So that is the board minutes are in PDF form. I don't have any edits to the board meeting minutes from March. Are there any other, anybody have any edits? I'm going to go just by a show of yeses or nos. No edits. Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve the March meeting minutes as written. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, thank you. All in favor, say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. All right. I think it's a unanimous. The minutes March passed as written.
I abstain. I wasn't there.
Oh, sorry. No problem. I forgot about that. So we have 1, 2, 3, 1. Let me count everybody. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We had 5 yeses or 6 yeses, 1 abstention. All right. Moving forward, second item on the agenda is the financial report. So Joaquin, I will let you go ahead and present that, and I'll mute myself.
Okay, great. Thank you. So we have 2 parts to this. I'll present the first part, and then we're going to move over to the dashboard, which is a pictorial representation of what we're going through right now. And we'll have Robert go through that, okay? So with respect to the monthly, it's important to remember, in spite of all that's been going on, this report compares this month to last month, okay? So this is not going to reflect what will be a more dramatic change in our annual budget. Okay, so likely you can expect that there was not that many changes in our monthly budget. Okay, so with that as a preface, basically, as I said, there's really not that big a change. The revenue forecast has gone small amount of about 100 and there was a actually hold on, I'm looking at this. Okay, fine. So we have a revenue decrease about 180,000, and which reflects the Department of Youth and Community Development summer and after school program for obvious reasons. They didn't necessarily tell us this, but the executive team thought it would be prudent, given the current situation, to not expect those funds. But at the same time, that revenue decrease was offset in part by a release of the New School Venture Fund of $104,000 that was supposed to be released in about 3 months' time, right, Roberto? And they did it earlier. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
So as a result, the revenue was not too badly affected. From an expense point of view, you can expect that we did not have that many changes, thankfully. There was a small amount of reduction in salary, about a little less than $20,000, $18,000. Mainly for hourly employees as a result of the current situation. Also, we will anticipate savings in transportation costs. Obviously, we're not running the buses, student services, and school security costs. Okay, so as a result, our net income so far is 226, projecting till the end of the year, is going to be a positive of $226,601. Right? That really is basically it. It's not a big change. What changes there are many in the effect, the current. Okay. in terms of cash flow, we are stronger, partly because of the advance, the new school venture fund, and also I believe, okay. And so now we're brought over to the balance sheet. The balance sheet cash balance is roughly the same. We still have the La Raza loan still left to be paid. And again, we are paying it according to the $100,000 a month payment plan. And once, I believe, is it by next month, when we make that payment, we'll be in line with our performance metric for current ratios, okay? And there has been some increase. We do have some extra bills to pay. Our accounts payable has increased a bit, and that's mainly on account of the advanced work we have to do for the 4th floor renovation, okay? And we still have a deferred revenue of 1 month, and that's mainly due to the 2-month student pupil revenue we get, which basically comes every 2 months. Okay, so we'll recoup that by next month. And our long-term debt, which is basically our equipment and our furniture, continues to go down. So as a result, on all those 4 metrics, we're fine except the first one, which is current ratio, which we should be meeting and conforming with by next month. So to segue into the great work that Robert, along with Roberto and Michael, have done, is basically to put all of this that we just discussed with 1,000 words into a pictorial, a visualization. So Robert, does everybody have that? I mean, it's really a great, can you pull it up? Does everyone have that 1-page? Great, thank you. Robert, take it away.
Sure. So thank you, Joaquin. Appreciate you running through that. Roberto and I have been kind of talking for the last few weeks about the possibility of putting together a dashboard. I, for one, am a visual learner. And, you know, for somebody that doesn't work in educational finance, we figured that this might help just guide some of the school finance discussions that we've been having. So if you have the dashboard open, and one caveat here is the business entity. LEEP has been in existence for going on, you know, this will be our 2nd year. So the stacking 2 years of financials, while again, we can present visually, doesn't paint, you know, we're trying to paint a picture here. Some of these graphs have a little bit more benefit once the school has been in existence for 2, 3, 4 years. But with that being said, just kind of looking at this, so the first graph is really just a visual representation of where we are with regards to our balance sheets. And you'll see the blue bar is indicative of the assets that we're carrying. The red bar is indicative of the liabilities, and the gray bar shows the school's equity. So obviously what we want to see year over year is a growth in assets and, you know, probably flat to maybe a little bit of growth on the liability side. So we'll see our assets have gone up since last fiscal year here, and our liabilities have gone down, which is good news. And our equity as a result of that has increased to 202,000, which is great. And then again, just looking at the next graph to the right is your revenue and expenses. Again, the school actually had kids this year. We realized a number of additional revenue lines outside of some grant funding that we saw last year. So we're seeing that increase to 3.9 million, and expenses are obviously going up as we're operating a school to 3.7. With forecasted revenue, net income rather, at $226,000. I know we talk about the state education department financial metrics every year, every board meeting rather, but this again is just a visual representation of where we are with those metrics and just how close we are coming to meeting, exceeding, or falling behind those. So the static green lines that are going horizontally are the individual state metrics year over year. And the blue line, again, with more years, you'll be able to see some ebbs and flows up and down, but shows whether we're meeting or exceeding these. So your current ratio, we are below that 1.0 line, which is where we want to be. Days cash, again, this is very cyclical, but the state metric there is 30 days of cash on hand. And again, you'll see we're at 35. So this goes up and down every 2 months as we receive our per pupil funding. So as we show this next month, you know, we'll have a number of days of cash on hand far exceeding the SED metric. Total margin is a fancy way of saying they want to make sure the school is profitable year over year. So we are at a 0.06 ratio there, again, meeting the SED metric of 0.00. And as Joaquin mentioned, we do have the RAZA note currently in short-term liabilities, which is affecting our debt to asset ratio. So you'll see that we dipped below the SED threshold there.
Robert, just
Sure.
before you go to the enrollment, I just want to make clear on the first two, the balance sheet and the revenue versus expenses, just visualization. The blue minus the red equals the gray, okay? So the blue minus the red equals the gray. So the fact that we have a gray is a very good thing. That means we have a net income, okay?
Good, thank you. Thank you, Joaquin. Appreciate that clarification there. And then just one more point, I guess, on as Joaquin was talking through the financials, you know, we did our best effort there to look at some expenses where we will have cost savings as a result of the school being closed. You know, as the rest of this year goes on and we continue to realize savings, we'll obviously true up those numbers. You know, this month we softly projected about 80K in savings between staffing savings for hourly employees that are not in the building, to about 60K in other than personnel savings, where we know we'll realize some savings related to school transportation, after school program, and school security with the facility closed. So month over month, we'll be sure to report those back to you, but I would expect some additional savings, and then net income figure that Joaquin was just mentioning to increase as we go through the end of the year. I think when we were discussing this with
We
Roberto,
should probably also raise, no, I thought, well, after this, Roberto should include his discussion on the paycheck.
for sure.
Okay.
So then just moving on to the bottom half of this, I think Roberto's like big ask of me was just, he wanted to be able to clearly show how deltas in revenue, in enrollment ultimately affect school revenue. So, and I know we talk about how many kids that we have every time we report per pupil, but you may have forgotten how many we actually budgeted for and how that at the end of the day impacts the budget. So on the student count side, again, just wanted to stack numbers side by side. We budgeted 153 kids and only have 121 this year, which is a very good, strong showing for a school in its very first year. But you know, that's a difference of 32 kids. On the special education side, we budgeted for 45 students and we have 24. So that 21 student delta, you know, that leads to a change in revenue. So then moving on the right, looking at the right side of this, you know, our per pupil budget was $2.47 million. And, you know, we are looking at an actual per pupil funding of about 1.9 million. So that's a pretty sizable variance that we've had to overcome. So that's why we're seeing, you know, less net revenue or less net income than we had originally projected. On the special education side, all in, this is only hitting, even though we only have 24 special education students against a budget of 45, this is only hitting us for $11,000. And that is because we only get paid on students for students listed on line the 20 through 60% line and the greater than 60% line. So you'll see those two numbers add up to 17 versus the total enrollment of 12. But the students in the greater than 60% tier are funded at effectively 2 times the rate than a student in the 20 to 60% tier. So again, just wanted to show you these numbers side by side. And then again, for visual people, this is kind of we submit our enrollment to DOE for payment every 2 months, starting over the summer, and then September, November, January, March, and May. So this is just a graphical representation of what our enrollment counts looked like on a general education and a special education basis. And you'll see the orange line graph going between May and like fiscal year 21. And we just wanted to point that out because, and I'm sure Michael and Roberto will get into this, we had a very strong enrollment period, and we wanted to show you prior to presenting the annual budget, which you should be seeing at the next board meeting, where we anticipate being after all of our hard work going into next year. So while we have 121 kids in the building right now, we are, projecting that our starting enrollment for next school year is going to jump to 244 kids. Our special education enrollment as well will go up more than 50%, and we're looking at 39 kids. And then just to put some, dollar figures on where we anticipate to start projecting at for next year, we're looking at per pupil rate after obviously what we're going through in the pandemic is going to remain flat. But our per pupil income is going to more than double to $3.9 million next year, and special education revenue should go up to just shy of $400,000. So again, I welcome any feedback from the board on this dashboard. I know it's our kind of first time going through this, but just wanted to paint a 10,000-foot picture for some things that are important as far as school reporting goes, and just to give you some context on what enrollment and growth, how that actually impacts the school.
I don't know if this would be helpful, and maybe it's too many lines. Could this also include a net income line?
It could certainly include a net income line where we've anticipated, kind of projected going month over month, and where we anticipate ending the end of next year. Absolutely.
Yeah. Right, because your per pupil funding is really your budget, right? Is your revenue, right? Is your incoming revenue. It's a significant portion. It'll probably make up about 70 to 80% of our budget for next year. Got it.
This is wonderful, Robert. I don't know what the other board members think, but I think this is incredibly helpful.
Okay, thank you, Joaquin and Bob. We really appreciate this. I second everything that Joaquin said. This is a really helpful visual representation of a lot of the important benchmarks that all of us need to understand for reporting to SED. I know a lot of the in the weeds work gets done by the finance committee, and the rest of the documentation we have on that is extremely helpful and thorough as it should be. But I think having this sort of encapsulation that's visual for kind of the greatest hits of what we need to know financially is going to really help us as a whole. So thank you very much for doing that. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.
If I can add one more thing, because it's still a finance thing, Roberto, would you like to give us a little bit on that, the paycheck?
As you've seen in the bullets, we sent a paragraph about the application that was prompted by Bob Keogh and his team, getting us first in line at the gate when those portals opened up last couple of weeks ago now, for the purpose of applying for the SBA's loan to small businesses, and we were clearly eligible, and Bob and the team made that happen. Just today, we have an update on the loan request of $422,000. While the SBA has no money, We got an update that we are already at the SBA for approval, which is the third and final step before the loan is funded. If those of you who are familiar with this loan, you know that it's based on support for small businesses to keep their employees hired. And the understanding is that if we can keep our payroll intact for 2 months, the loan will be forgiven. So this would be a great opportunity for us to be able to have a very helpful shot in the arm. Something certainly that we're not budgeting or counting on, but it'll be a nice thing to have. And Michael sent along just recently in the last hour that the Senate has approved additional funding for the payroll protection plan.
That's right. So our fingers are crossed that we'll have concrete good news for you all relatively soon.
Kudos to the leadership team and to Bob for getting that done. I don't know if you all, any of you applied for this at your workplaces, but mine did, and it was a real nightmare. So it's really great that we're at the point that we are, and it's going to be a huge help, I think. And I'm sure a big exhale for everybody on the leadership team, and I'm sure on the staff as well. So thank you all for your hard work on that. Okay, if that is that anything else from the Finance Committee or the Treasurer?
That's it.
All right, then we can move into the updates from the leadership team. Roberto, you're muted. You have to unmute.
This happens so often in Zoom meetings to so many people. Let me just start, Madam Chair, by requesting that the agenda be amended. And I'm sorry I didn't mention this earlier. We were intending, for those of you who see on the agenda, 2 bullets of technology contract and construction contract. Those contracts are not in your packet, and they were not submitted because we did not have conclusion on the construction contract number 1. We expected to have that, and we still do not have final bids. We are finalizing that maximum agreement with the contractor. In addition, we have the technology contract, but you did not get that for review and approval. So I would ask the board to consider tabling those 2 items, and we will take them up all in a package in the interim board meeting request that we will make later on in the meeting.
That's fine.
All right.
So in terms of, go ahead.
Go ahead, Michael.
Well, in terms of updates, hopefully everyone had a chance to read the written updates that were circulated. I thought I might start us out with update on enrollment, which Bob alluded to. We have had a terrific team led by Ms. Torres, who's on the call now, doing a lot of intense follow-up to help us overcome our circumstances and still reach out to a lot of families. We, as you know, held our first lottery, and that was via Zoom. And since then have been hearing from families about their decisions, about if they were offered seats. And we've also been hearing from families on the wait list about their desire to move up. So I can share, I think I can share numbers that I pulled as of about an hour ago and just put those on screen. Obviously no identifiable information here. So as you can see, I hope, we have started out with 96 seats in kindergarten. That's a full class of kindergartners, plus the remaining open seats in first and second grade. 96 in K, 16 in first, and 14 in grade 2. And then as the table shows, we've been getting parents accepting offers of admission and beginning the enrollment process. They've been sending us their documents. They've been asking us their questions. They've been moving down that pipeline toward joining us on August 30th for the first day of school. The remaining seats available, you can see, are shrinking in number. And then that last column shows a combination of students who have been offered a seat but haven't gotten back to us, and students who are on the waiting list. So if you look at the ratio between the remaining seats available and the undecided plus wait list, we're okay. It's nice to have that, 3-to-1 or more ratio at this point. We know that we can't be fooled. If we want to go into the fall with a nice healthy waiting list from which to pull throughout the fall semester, then we need to continue our efforts to be out there letting the community know who we are and what we're about, and letting them know that they can join our wait list. We continue to get a few applications, but we'll keep pushing on that. You may wonder why all the seats haven't been accepted yet. Well, once we make an offer, by our policy, parents have 2 weeks to accept or decline. And typically people will accept quickly and decline slowly. So actually just in a couple of days, we'll be sending out another big batch of offers based on the families that chose not to accept an offer that they got right at the lottery. So there's a little bit of cyclicality to this, where we can't just offer every seat because we're waiting for families to get back to us. But I'm pleased to show you these numbers at this point. As you know, we had a bit of a slow start this year and some strange circumstances, but know also that MIDA and the team are not going to let up or get overly relaxed as we keep moving towards a full enrollment. As the notes show here, this doesn't include any of our returning students because they don't need to participate in the lottery. And this is net of offers that have been made and declined. So none of these are sort of false numbers that were actually declined later. Those have been taken out.
Thank you, Michael.
Roberto, I yield back the floor if you want to share any other updates.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. You got ahead of me. I really wanted to introduce Michael and Maida because they have been putting in, and Margarita and Adeline and Yuris have all been doing putting in the sweat equity on getting new families into our school. And of course, that's what this school is about. It's about families. It's about our learning community. And we certainly, knowing where we were just even 45 to 60 days ago, an amazing result, and the connection that all of the team are making with new families, the excitement that we hear in the families' voices, and their desire to want to start school August 31st, and our desire to want to go back to school by August 31st is certainly something we look forward to. So thank you again to Maida for leading that charge, and for Michael for making it all happen, including the first national broadcast of the LEEP Loteria. So thank you for that, Michael. That was amazing. We have updates that I've sent in an organizational report. I'm not going to go through them. I'd prefer that if you have any questions, please ask them now. Yeah, and then I can answer those questions. And then we have one. The main thing is the main thing. What we do is the academics in our instructional program, and I want Delines to be able to bring us up to date on the third phase of instruction. But first, are there any questions on the organizational report? All right, hearing none. Yes, ma'am.
All right, I do have one question. I just want to, for the sake of just making sure that, for the sake of the next agenda. So it looks like we're potentially next month are going to have both to look at both contracts, the loan documents, and the first iteration of the budget.
No, I'll clarify. So first off, I need to say that right before the meeting, I got a memo, an email from our attorney, Cliff Snyder. Cliff, as you know, is working on 2 different projects for us. One is the Friends of, and trying to get the lease back from the landlord so that we can then submit the lease to Raza Development. We also need, from that same process, this board has to approve the sublease. This board has to approve the overall Raza loan. and all the different resolutions and ancillary pieces that are required. That needs to happen sooner. And we cannot wait till next month, Madam Chair, because just the timeline that we're on. So we will provide a schedule of when we can have all the documents ready, including these 2 contracts and possibly 1 more, for the purpose of bundling everything together in an interim meeting, which could happen as early as the first week of May. We anticipate that May 7th, May 8th is a date that we can close the RAZA Development Fund loan. So the board meeting would have to take place before that.
Okay, so that interim meeting would cover those 3 documents, the 2 contracts and the loan?
Exactly.
Okay. Just very quickly here, are there any, all right, I'll reach out to everybody afterward to gauge availability for that week. But Roberto, you're saying that we should try to schedule a meeting before May 7th. Is that right?
Yeah, it's going to have to be done. Just trying to push all the paperwork necessary for RAZA to get everything from this board and get it in front of their attorneys and everything else. Michael and I will work. We'll go back to Alyssa Garcia from RAZA as early as tomorrow and see. We've answered a lot of questions in the last 60 hours, and there's only 2 documents remain, which is the gross contract from the general contractor, the maximum price contract. And once we have that and they have that, we'll have a better sense, Gabrielle, of when we can have scheduled our board meeting to process all these documents in time for a May 7th, 8th closing. I'll try to get you that date as early as tomorrow.
Right. So I would request that there be at least a summary sheet on each of these, somewhat like a term sheet or what have you, something that in easy to understand language just lays out the basic obligations, liabilities, if any, of these contracts, okay? Of these loan.
Yeah, we'd love some help if you can.
Documents.
That would be great. Thank you.
I didn't say I was going to do it. I was saying it would be helpful.
Got it.
Okay.
So if there's no further ado, if there are any more questions, the main thing of what we've been doing for the last number of weeks since the closure has been spearheaded, and Delines has led the charge. Our last board meeting, you were able to hear from Delines what our plan was for instruction, and we've gone through that first phase and second phase of the planning. Now Delines and the team have presented a 3rd phase. And so Delines, would you mind just bringing the board up to date on our 3rd phase, please?
Sure, and I'm sure everyone's already had a chance to read the remote learning document that we sent over. We've been sort of at a phase 2 where we've had asynchronous learning happening in terms of us creating our YouTube page. We've been posting our teachers have been posting videos on our YouTube page, and we have been providing assignments aligned to those videos via the different online platforms that we have, Seesaw, IXL, Raz Kids. Moving on now to phase 3, we want to be able to implement as much live teaching as we can. And so now we're incorporating that into the upcoming schedule that we're going to send to families. We're working out and tweaking the schedule and finalizing it as we speak. We should have that available by the end of tomorrow. But within the new schedule, there's opportunities for kids to log in onto Zoom and have live sessions with their teachers. So they'll have morning meeting with their teachers. They'll have reading in English and in Spanish with their teachers. And then what will be recorded is the math, where that will still be available via video. So we're trying to balance out the live versus the video, and just always keeping sort of that equity piece in mind and making sure that whatever we do is accessible to as many families as possible. So even though we'll be doing parts of our instruction live, those videos will also be recorded and made available for families of kids who are not able to make it at that time that it's live, to ensure that everyone is able to access the learning in the schedule that best fits their current situation at the moment. We've taken the approach of really trying to focus and center and think what is the most important things that we need to focus on. We can't do it all. We were trying to do a lot. So we had math, we had fonética and gramática, we had skills, there was a lot going on. So we've sort of divided it into 3 big buckets: literacy in English, literacy in Spanish, and math, and just sort of focusing on those 3 big components in terms of the instruction that we want to really keep providing our kids, so that when they come back in the fall, as much as possible, we're trying to like stop any regression, keep what they've learned at minimum, and if possible, push them a little bit more, given the situation that we're in. Sort of that's the approach that we're taking right now. Questions?
So just a reminder, most of you will remember, and from the notes, that we were able to purchase 60 new Chromebooks that are touch Chromebooks for the kids. And so those have been ordered now over 2 weeks, and we expect them in the next 2 weeks. So with that, our children will have much more access to the tools that will facilitate this new phased-in learning approach.
David, you look like you had a question.
Yeah, I'm just curious what the actual numbers are of how many students are without access. Either they don't have a machine or they have internet restrictions of some kind that are not allowing them to get to these materials.
So our understanding, well, I'm sorry, Deliness, go ahead.
Go ahead, Michael.
Our belief is that all of our families do have access. And that was addressed by getting our existing Chromebooks loaned out immediately to families who had nothing. The challenge is we have families whose access may be a smartphone or a tablet, which isn't as ideal, or it may be something that's shared across multiple family members. So that was the reason to try to invest in more Chromebooks to loan out.
Understood. Also, and I'm sure this was discussed somewhat last month, but just to give me a little bit of a broad brush of what the targets are in your mind, and how, where the targets are in terms of what you want to be keeping on track, and where you think you can get in this environment, and how that fits in the backdrop of what may be expected of you or not expected of you by the Department of Education at this point.
Sure. As I mentioned before, I think what we're doing in phase 3 is really a focus on literacy. So we want to maintain the progress that kids were doing and decoding reading skills. That's a big priority for us. So a lot of our instruction is going to be focused and has been focused on that, getting kids reading as much as possible, grade level text, and continuing to see that improvement that we were seeing. That's really like the big goal with kindergarten and first grade. We want them to become readers, and we want them to maintain the growth that they've showed, and we want them hopefully to be at grade level by the end of the year. Now, those are our goals. This is all new to us, this whole remote learning structure. And so we have to assess how much of that can we accomplish through this remote learning process. But that's definitely our target and our goal. And all of the instruction that we're doing is targeted to give kids multiple opportunities for practice in reading with us present, so that we can give them feedback. Their assignments require them to record themselves, or will be required to record themselves reading text that we give to them, and then the teacher is able to provide them feedback and hear them reading to see whether or not they're reaching that level. And so that's where our focus is. Math, we're really trying to focus, knowing where our kids ended by the time all of this happened, are a lot of like around math fluency in their counting ability, their ability to manipulate numbers within 1 through 10, kinder 1 through 20 in first grade. So that's really our focus in math. And so that's what we're trying to target with our kiddos right now. In terms of what the DOE, what NICET is requiring of us, they haven't given a lot of guidance, and Michael, maybe you can like jump in a little bit here. But it's really do everything and everything possible that you can, given the situation that you're in. It's a lot of making sure that you're taking good notes, that you have a system in place to know what percentage of your families are participating on a daily basis, what does attendance look like, so that these days can count as instructional days. So there's a lot of an emphasis on making sure that there is an approach to collecting that data and figuring out like what attendance looks like at your school and recording that.
Understood. And just while I have you for a second, when it comes to, non-academic stuff, dealing with the families being home and the teachers, their lives and everybody's issues, I know that's tough. I mean, we're all, I'm sure, dealing with it in our own workplaces, and, it's a lot of people and a lot on the line. How's everybody handling that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I could speak, in speaking about the teachers, I think that we have a strong community amongst ourselves. We're constantly checking in on each other. We do social aspects after school hours via Zoom to spend some time outside of just the work environment together and keep that morale high. That's been a key thing in some of the decision makings that I've made with the schedule and live versus video recording, also keeping in mind the workload for teachers and expectations, and given the situation that we're in. So it's balancing all of those different aspects and making sure that what's being asked of them is reasonable and it's equitable across the team as well, because we have more than just one or two teachers. So figuring out how to divide that workload so that we are as efficient as possible and working smart. Yeah.
So on the family side, if I can jump in, Billy Ness, I have to do another shout out to Maida and the team. When we have news from our families, and this also includes Margarita, of course, as our Director of Family Experience and Enlace. When we have news from our families of illness, and one of the granddads that came on the last day when we were distributing packets has died. And we had a cousin who died just yesterday. And, we know of the families, they notify us first and they let us know that this is affecting their children. So Maida, Margarita get those messages from teachers. Maida has in place a plan to provide food baskets and a way to connect with the families to ensure that we're meeting them at their need. We're doing what we need. You see this little logo behind us that we created called Siempre Contigo. It's really intentional to let families know that we're always with them. And no matter their need, we're going to do whatever we can do as a school community to meet their need. I know Melissa had a question. She's been waiting for a while, and then Majo has a question as well.
I have a few questions. One, let me just start with the instructional part. Have you pivoted to providing teachers feedback on their asynchronous and synchronous lessons? And how is that going? That's one question. You can answer it, and then I can go to the next.
So yeah, so with the videos, all of our teachers are required to provide us scripted lessons of their like instruction before the video happens. So they're creating like a lesson plan, and then we have our coaches who goes in, they leave feedback on those lesson plans. And then in case by case basis, there's like teachers that are working with coaches and like practicing their videos before they go live and recording to provide some feedback there. So that definitely has happened. And then for the rest of our teachers, once the videos are done and they're submitted, our instructional coaches are looking at the videos and giving them feedback to take into account for the next time when they record themselves.
Great. Do you believe at this point, with the exception of the ones that you sent us, do you feel that the staff is confident and competent enough with the video lessons? And do you need exemplars, or are you planning to seek out any type of professional development from folks who like have aced it faster than us, like Uncommon? Sorry, they have.
Yeah, and you know, in some of we've shown some of those exemplars to our teachers, so we've utilized some of that. There's going to be less video recordings now. Like, it's really going to be focused. Math is going to be the component that's recorded, and then we have the live sessions that are happening. So the training is now sort of centering on how do you do a live lesson with kids and interacting in person, which can be different from a video recording. So now we're thinking through how do we train teachers for that sort of component of teaching prior to them engaging in that.
Do you believe that you're going to need, or your team's going to need, any professional development? I'm only asking because I know that folks like Doug Lamov are like light years ahead of us, and that's just because that's what they do. They spend hours, hours looking at teachers and providing feedback. So he's not opening a school. He's just in an office looking at videos with a whole bunch of other people. So my question to you is, because we don't know.
I think we need, I think here's the struggle, and I'd love feedback. Our goal is to get this up and running by May 4th. So that's a week and a half or so. So our teachers are currently doing videos for next week. And then the goal is for them on Monday to start planning for the following week, that May 4th. It's a really sort of like packed schedule. And so, yes, our teachers need training and support. And we are ourselves putting that together, myself and the instructional coaches, in terms of like presentations. Here are all of the resources you need. We're creating scope and sequences for them. We're creating exemplars for them. Would I like a little bit more time to work with them before rolling it out? Yes. Do I feel like we necessarily have the luxury of all of that time? That's where, I think we need to sort of like try it and then improve as we go and provide the training that teachers need. But I'm hesitant of delaying it further and further because I want to get this out to the families who need it.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to ask was more from Margarita, I believe, or just more about how we are providing families with resources in the community, like what do you call pantries and the DOE schools. Are we providing families with access to that information? Like, who's reading the borough president's newsletter to see where food is being delivered from Fresh Direct? Who's owning that on this team? Anybody can answer.
Margarita, you're on mute, but I'll answer. We've been keeping ourselves abreast of every newsletter that we know of, including the borough president's newsletter. We have notified our parents as to the pickup points for food. But Margarita, if you want to chime in here, or Maida, if you want to chime in as well for additional activities with parents.
We have been providing also like a survey to ask how the situation is at home. Also, our teachers have been calling each family, and they're always in touch with me. When they have issues contacting families, I jump in as well and ask them how they're doing. I've been in touch with some families who have been sick. I always offer help. Just today, I just spoke to a single parent father. Because the teacher couldn't reach out to him, and unfortunately he lost his job, and he's probably on an interview for another job. I offer help also with if they need resources for food, because right now he's looking for a job just to pay for rent. But we offer those resources, like as in, please contact me if you need anything. And I get a lot of feedback also from the teachers who've been calling all these families on almost a daily basis. And the only time I jump in is when they cannot reach the families. And so the teachers are a great resource for us to know how they're doing, if they need the extra help and support, information. I'm also like checking all those resources online for, like especially for immigrants who are undocumented. They're the ones that are suffering the most, and from my point of view. So I also get those like information as to where they should go in case, for extra support.
Great. And the reason why I'm asking I'm asking because there are so many things coming out. Like, have any of your families used 211 NYC to get food delivered to them because they can't move?
No, I haven't heard of any of that.
Right. And so there's a couple of things in all the boroughs that are happening. And I want to like be able to see what access, is it on our website? What access do families have to these pantries in Brooklyn, to 211. There is now a new thing that's coming out that you can text if you need food. There's helping families with SNAP application. So, and I understand that we are a large network that has access to people to do this, but I don't know what you don't know. And so if I know what you know, then I can give you stuff that you don't know.
Well, Melissa, we appreciate it. After you flagged last time, who's checking every day to make sure there's no food security issues. And so Maida and Margarita have been emphasizing with teachers, you have those daily conversations, flag for us immediately. Who's sick? Who needs food? What's going on in the household? Don't just know it. Tell the leadership team as soon as possible so that we can kind of jump into action. So this is another point that's well taken. Maybe we can be even more proactive, pushing out the resources that are there. I don't know. There seems sometimes it feels like there's an overwhelming number of feeding options that are available, but that doesn't mean that every parent in our community sees every email that we do. So we can definitely go look at it as a team to see how we're getting that info out there.
First off, let me just say that our connectedness is so important. When the teachers and the team took a pause last week, one of the first priorities that Lily Ness and Michael and I with the teachers had was that any parent who needed help would be given a phone number that they could call, and we promised to get back to them within 2 hours. And so those calls that came in, nobody was on vacation here. We're there with you. And so whether it was me monitoring it or Michael or Maida or whoever, we all kind of are always checking on each other and making sure that we're responding. Hey, listen, we have a couple folks waiting for questions, but Majo was next and then Joaquin.
Sorry, it took me a second to unmute. I have a couple of questions, and I think they are all related to the social, emotional, mental, and health plan. First of all, I just wanted to say the videos have been amazing. We have seen, as someone who's been watching them daily with my kindergartner, I have seen the progress and I have seen the changes, and it's been great. The only tiny feedback I wanted to mention, I don't know if there's a plan for getting them to wear microphones. The sound sometimes cuts in and out, and that's a little bit tricky. Like it's at one volume and then it changes, and that makes it a little harder to understand. But just that, I'm sure that's already been shared probably, but wanted to say it just in case. Do we know currently attendance? How is it going? Do we know how many people are not able to actually do the work?
Michael?
Yeah, the segment of families who have had struggles with this is about 10% of our families.
Okay.
And we've done a lot of problem solving. You may know some of these families, Majo, but we do have certain parents who had difficulty even during the regular school year with things going on in their lives. And so I feel a sense of deja vu answering this question this way, because when we talked about this a month ago, this was also our answer. But we do really continue to reach out, and Mr. Sanchez, our counselor, is doing a lot to try to give that extra touch, especially when we have a couple of families who've had to deal with loss. And I think sometimes school goes lower on the list then would be best for the long-term view. And so we're really trying to communicate compassionately, but also insistently about getting that routine back together for the child. Deliness, is that a fair way to put it?
Yeah, yeah, I was just having a check-in meeting with some of our teachers prior to this meeting, and we were going over some of our students who were still struggling getting work product from, and so I was sort of going on a case-by-case basis with the teachers and taking notes on those students. And many of those students, all of them, are students that, you know, us admin team have already followed up on and made conversations, teacher phone calls. Teachers are making phone calls on a daily basis. So a lot of the question was around like teachers, like what else do we do? And, you know, at the given moment, like my response can only be like, we have to just continue what we're doing, like not let go and not say like, okay, we're just going to give up on that family. Like if we have to continue calling every day, if, you know, I have to continue calling on a weekly basis, seeing what we can do to provide support. You know, I can't physically go into their house and make them do the work, but as much as I can do, I'm going to keep doing it, and hope and that the family will then see that we're serious and that we're not going to give up. We're not going to let down. We're going to call. You're going to get a call from me every single day if need be, to see what we can do to get them on board.
It sounds then like it's going really well, because if the numbers are the same as they were a month ago, then that means that, I mean, from the parents' point of view, I have no clue if we're the only ones doing the work. I just have no sense, just because we don't know. So if they're the same as the ones who were struggling before this, then it means it's going really well. Like, I mean, of course, we're going to try to get it even higher, but just the fact that we haven't lost half the kids, considering what's going on, I think it's an amazing job. I just wanted to know because we don't know how it's going.
And that's a testament to the teachers that are daily checking in and making sure that our families are connected. Joaquin, you had a question?
I also have more. I haven't finished.
You're on mute, Joaquin.
A couple more. We'll come back to you, Maho.
Okay.
Maho, I'm sorry, Maho. I didn't mean to cut off your question. Did you have
Maho,
some more?
please.
Hold on, Joaquin. Did you have an additional question?
I have
Four more questions?
I have 3 more questions, some longer, some shorter. And actually the one that's the most important is, I was looking at the strengthening tools of connection, and what I saw in this social emotional mental health plan that was missing is I don't see tools of connection between the children. And I know that this is a very challenging part, and there's tools of connection with the children and the teachers. And I know that we're in a very privileged spot. So I know that you guys are not too worried about us, and we haven't been on the receiving end of the checking in, because I know we'll sort of need it as much maybe as some of the other families. But speaking for my kindergartner, she's felt adrift. Today was the second call we got in this whole time. And I know that maybe it's been a matter of like, haven't noticed that there's been calls missing because we haven't gotten like advance notice that a call was happening. But I know that she's been feeling a huge lack of connection with the school. She's also hugely missing her classmates. And I know that we have something scheduled for tomorrow. I'm very excited to see how that's going to go. But I think, I don't know why in the beginning, Seesaw had the journal option where the kids could see the other kids' work, and they were talking to each other. They were sending videos to each other, and we were enjoying that. Clara was really enjoying that, and that stopped. And I'm guessing there's a good reason for it. But because there hasn't been anything else provided as a way for the kids to see each other, it's been very strong. I don't know if I hear about the live learning that's going to be happening. I don't know how much room there is going to be there for the kids to interact with each other. So prior
there's going to be the morning meeting, which is going to be focused on that interaction part. It's not going, that morning meeting is not going to be academic based. It's going to be more social connection amongst the teachers, amongst the students. So that component is going to be kept just for that. And that will be on a daily basis.
So glad
and
to
then,
hear.
yeah, and then we will also have optional at the end of the day, twice a week. Our music teacher is going to have like a live class for kids to log on and connect with each other. And our art teacher will have like a dance class once a week as well for the kids to connect with each other.
That actually hits two of the other questions I had. I was wondering about the music teacher, since I haven't seen much activity from his point. And also I noticed the spring concert is still on the calendar. And I was wondering if trying to do something with the spring concert, something online, could be a way to have some social connection. And I don't know, that's probably like best discussed elsewhere, but there are things, even though it's like May 8th, which is kind of coming up, there are a lot of things that we could manage to get done by then. I don't know if that's already in the works or not, but
no, that's not in the works. I will take that into consideration and think about it.
I'm happy to brainstorm and have ideas of like simple ways of doing something like that could make sense and be cute and be shareable.
Yeah, I think we could schedule something for us to talk about that and see what might be feasible there.
Okay, and the last point was also just...
I'm so sorry to interrupt. I just want to be really mindful of the time.
Yeah.
It's 10 after 7. If we can, I wanted to have Joaquin get his question in, but I do want you to connect with Delines privately.
Sounds good.
Okay, so
Happy to do that.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Really appreciate that. Okay, Joaquin, I just want to take max like 3 more minutes and then
No, it'll be quick. So just following up on Melissa's point of view, if perhaps some of those professionals might view some of the online live sessions and then maybe be able to assist you later. That way you don't lose time. Okay, so that's just a suggestion.
Can you repeat that again?
I'm sorry. So perhaps you can get some of those professional resources that Melissa was talking about, that maybe they can already view and be part of the live sessions that you're going to be rolling out. So then they can help, advise you and assist you later on. So that's just a thought. Okay. Second is, what do you guys think about, I know we're talking about fundraising, but how about, I was thinking about the 10%, and it's odd, huh? The 10% versus the 1%. But anyway, a small relief fund, I don't know how it would go, but we all have different situations, but let's say, $500, $250, whatever, just to put something small. I don't know, Roberta, would that be helpful? Is that something that we would just basically, well, I would be prepared to trust you to distribute. I don't know. You know what I mean? I mean, just hearing some of these stories, it's so sad, so I don't know.
We'll take that under consideration. I think there's lots of things that we can do, and we're constantly talking to our team about ways to connect with our families that are going to be practical, and certainly helping them with food was one of the first things that we came up with. But raising money for various needs that families have is certainly something laudable. I will take that into study and figure out how to make some time to pull some ideas together. So thank you.
Well, I'm sorry. I don't even want to make this another thing for you to put on your checklist. I'm just asking among our board members here if maybe in the next week or so, I mean, my partner and I, we're willing to write a small check or something just to jumpstart this. I think these families are in great need. You guys know better than I do, of course, what's really needed out there, as long as there's some acknowledgement that it's really a helping hand for those who most desperately need it. I don't know how you establish that. And I don't think we have the time, given the urgency, to do a whole litmus, metric test and all that, but it's just an idea.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Joaquin. Appreciate that. I just want to be mindful of the time here and quickly move into board norms and development since we're skipping contracts. Just a few things that I wanted to talk through first. We've been lucky enough to have David Doak here serving unofficially on the Finance Committee, I think as far back as December monthly, and giving a lot of really great help in those meetings as well as during our board meetings on the finance front. So I wanted to, I asked David and he agreed, and I would like to put it to a vote tonight for David to join the Finance Committee. He's already an official board member, but we have to put it up to a vote when anybody joins a committee, I think, who is already a board member. So given that, I'd like to make a motion to nominate David to the Finance Committee. Can I have a second?
A second.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, wonderful. It's official. Thank you so much, David.
Thank you.
A couple of other things. I wanted to give folks a quick update. I know that we had, you may be wondering, we had one of Delina's friends and a good professional contact, Caroline Corso, come to a board meeting a few months ago and just talk through what her experience was on the HR front. And I wanted to give you a couple quick updates. We had talked about potentially engaging her later on in a few months as a board contact. Once we got past it was right before we had the retreat, and we kind of wanted to get everybody who was in the existing group, who we had just gotten on board, involved in that. We have done a couple of things. We have engaged her since on just some onboarding questions that we have related to staffing. And I believe, go ahead, Roberto.
I'm raising my hand, Madam Chair. I'm not interrupting you.
Okay. Do you have a question?
And the point was that we had a really good meeting based on your good follow through with Caroline on Friday. I was not able to include it in the updates, but Caroline has already done an overview of our employee handbook. In addition, she's going to be taking up one of our policies. She and I will be working on an amendment that we will present. We actually have good news. One of our teachers is with child. And so it's really incumbent upon us to produce a very strong maternity-paternity policy. And Caroline's on it. And she said that she's going to be working on that in addition to a teacher advancement program that Delines, on some of the points that she sent to me that I forwarded to Caroline, to look at compensation, but also additional training as teachers grow. So I have to say thank you to Delines for introducing us and for Caroline's generous time and that she will continue to do with us as we go forward.
Great, thank you. I just wanted to give everybody that update so that it wasn't, I don't think we had updated everybody on her involvement since then. Couple of other items before next month. So our next board meeting is May 19th, the next scheduled board meeting. As Roberto and Michael mentioned, we'll probably need to convene an interim meeting before that for the contracts as well as the RASA loan. But for the next official meeting, it's going to coincide with the same time that SED will be doing a remote visit to the school. And as part of that visit, Paula Orlando, our SED contact, is going to attend, I believe she said, part of our next board meeting, correct? Maybe an hour, the first hour of the meeting. Is that what we talked about earlier this week, Roberto and Michael?
Yes, she's going to be attending the board meeting, and then she's going to be meeting with the team separately on a second day. And at that meeting, she will be interviewing a number of our staffers, including teachers, particularly teachers that deal with ELLs. Of course, we're all ELL teachers, in addition to our special education teachers. So it's an official visit, although be it virtually, but we're going to be about a month in preparation for that visit. And we will give you and the board additional material as we are able to develop it with her for prepping for that meeting. I think a lot of it is going to be observation and to see how the board operates and is working, and especially now under this virtual world. But again, this is just part of their due diligence and looking at how we operate as an organization. Michael, I don't know if you want to fill in additional information.
No, I mean, just to be clear, this is in lieu of what would have been the standard first year visit. that every first-year charter school receives. In these times, it becomes a series of Zoom calls with our different stakeholders.
Great, thank you both. So I just wanted to call folks' attention to that. And in addition to the observing part of the meeting, she'll want to meet with at least a portion of the board separately, similarly to how she's also meeting with the teams at the school. So I think rather than put that on everybody here, I asked her if it would be okay for her just to meet with the executive committee, and she was fine with that. So that would be myself and Joaquin and Melissa. So I'll touch base with you both. I don't think it would be, she said it would be maybe half an hour tops. So I will get in touch with you. It would be around that same time that week.
Can I make a, I'm sorry to be a pest, but I would just really quickly want to gauge interest of our fellow board members on the relief fund, because at least if we know that there's an interest, then Roberto just has something to work with. You don't have to tell me your amounts, but if maybe we would be all fine by, what's today? Tuesday?
Yes.
By Friday, by Friday, just looking into what we might have extra. And then I don't know how we get the money to you, whether we Venmo it, whatever, but you know what I'm saying? So can I have a show of hands if we're all into this? Again, this is whatever resources, okay?
Yep.
All right, so we'll just send, Roberto, we'll just send, is it okay just to send, you have to tell us a protocol by which we can send this money to you.
You want us?
Yes, we're going to send the money to you, but we don't know how.
Or-
Michael, Roberto, just tell us now while we're all here.
Bob might also have an idea.
Or Maida, whoever, whatever.
Whoever.
All right, we'll send an email. We'll talk
Thank
about
you.
it and let you know tomorrow.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you for suggesting it, Joaquin. I appreciate that. All right. Any questions around the board items I just covered, that we all just covered, rather? Right. Go ahead, Roberto.
We have one person attending who's amongst our midst, and if she happens to be an individual we can just say hello to. She's part of the public attendees, and she's one of our teachers, Andrea Puerta. Hi, Andrea.
We know you can't talk back, but we see you. Thanks for
Oh,
joining.
hi, Andrea. I didn't even see her anywhere. Okay. Oh, there she is.
I could unmute her.
Thank you for attending.
Thank you for attending.
Gracias. Gracias.
Hola.
Hola, ¿cómo
There you
estás?
have-
Very interesting, and I love to hear that good news, and of course the support. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming. And thank you for all the work you're doing.
My word.
That's all we
Okay.
have, Madam Chair.
That was our public comment, I think.
I
So
dare
that-
say.
That covers that. I don't believe we have anything to discuss that would fall under executive session today. So I believe that at this point we are free to adjourn. I'd like to, does anyone have anything else to add at this point?
Oh, let me just do a shout out to Magdalena for sending out immediately a number of different contact points for food distribution and other social services. Thank you, Magdalena.
Yeah,
You're very welcome.
just on that note, thanks. Also, I've been working with some of these National Guard sites, and I'm not sure exactly how you get on their distribution lists for food, but we're doing, 20,000 meals a day at those facilities each. And so when I'm there tomorrow morning, I will get some information to circulate about how we get involved with that too for your folks in Brooklyn. I mean, I'm in the Bronx, so I just don't know where they are for you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much,
I
David.
think there's one in Red Hook as well. There's a huge distribution in Red Hook.
Yeah, I know they have them. I just don't know how you get on their lists and how they get to you.
Okay, we'll talk.
And truly, if anybody, please don't feel like you need to wait till a board meeting if you've come across resources that you think might be helpful. I feel like during this time, it's better to over communicate on things that could or could not help go. I would hope that the leadership team would be okay kind of fielding any of those ideas at any point.
I'll do it then.
Okay, thank you all. All right, I would like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all so much for attending. I know it's such a crazy time and we're all still trying to establish our own new normal in our own lives. And I really appreciate your willingness to continue doing the work for our school and to support our teachers, our leadership team, who are doing the very best they can and doing a really great job. If you haven't already taken a look at the video lessons on YouTube, go take a look. They're really a lot of fun. And they also, I think, highlight, if you think about what day-to-day instruction looks like or what it feels like, even as a parent or remembering to your experience being a kid and then looking at what it looks like online, you can really see like it's a different thing. And I think what teachers have had to do in a little bit of time to shift their practice and the enthusiasm that they're bringing to it is really wonderful and something to see. So highly encourage you all to do that if you haven't already. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for
Thank you.
for this, and we'll see you in May.
Happy
Sounds
Zooming.
good. Stay
Bye.
safe, guys.
Zoom.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Everyone.